pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Thank you, everyone, for coming a little early tonight. This is not our normal time, and we'll go back to our normal time after tonight, but we wanted to kind of get some things fit in, and timing-wise, it was easier just to start a little earlier. So the first thing we're going to do, instead of approving the minutes, we don't have the minutes, so we'll push that off to the next meeting. We're going to jump right into old business, and we're going to look at the Veterans Park Planning Project. And we're going to have Simone Collins come or give us a presentation of what they plan on doing. The Veterans Park is formerly the St. David's Park right on Lancaster Avenue. And we've been working on a project there with the VFW, the local VFW, and Bill Madden, to kind of transform that park into a park that honors veterans, both alive, living, and dead, and make it more of an educational place. And we hired Simone Collins to come in and do some conceptual drawings for us. We've had meetings with the VFW several times, and I think the plans you're going to see tonight are pretty much what everyone has settled on and really like, and we can tweak them a little bit, but we're pretty much at the end of the process at this point.
Have you also been meeting with the American Legion?
Yes. Right?
Actually, that's who they've been meeting with, has been the American Legion. Thank you.
I'm sorry.
It's American Legion.
I'm sorry. Apologize.
No problem. You'll also find out that.
Okay. Take it away.
Thanks, Jim, and thank you all for coming early tonight. The main constraint was mine. I have another meeting I have to go to later, so thank you for adjusting your schedule so I could be here. As Jim mentioned, we've been working since December with Bill's group and township staff and members of the park board. I think Jim's been at all the meetings. Andy's been at least a couple of them. And you can see the number of meetings we've had. We've had 3 meetings. We've also had some additional meetings with township staff to work through the process. And we started with a brainstorming meeting. Tonight I'm just going to give you sort of a summary of what we've done and then answer your questions. As Jim mentioned, we're at the end of the concept design. The next step, if the Board of Commissioners decides to go forward, would be to go into design development and construction drawings. During that process, there's still lots of decisions to be made. Material selections, lighting, subtleties of the design that are all very, very important. So there's still a lot of decisions to be made. And as Jim mentioned, we feel like we have a good concept where we have the elements. During that design development phase, they may shift a little bit. We have to look at all those issues. So there's still going to be a fair amount of fluidity, we think, as you move forward to finalize the design. The location on Route 30. It's almost across from the Legion Post. And it's a very busy road, as you know. The sidewalks go along Route 30 and then go into the park. They don't really go at the front of the park. And when we were asked to do this, township staff suggested we focus on the front part of the park. There's you can see how the sidewalks go through the park there. There's an older fountain that I guess has never functioned that well. It's planned to be removed. We've got an existing 9/11 memorial there. We've got a berm that goes between the sidewalk and the street, and that was, I think, put in by the original landscape architect to buffer the park from traffic noise and also the sights of traffic. There's no crossing right here on Route 30. You have to go in either direction to cross the street. So it's right now I think the park is a little hidden. I drove by it for years before I realized there was a park there. There's an existing playground which the township also would like to replace. And you can see the alignment of walks, and then we have at the back really is the neighborhood entry back here over to Midland Avenue is fairly heavily used. A lot of people get there through this walkway that comes to the back of the park because this is a residential neighborhood. So a lot of the folks who walk to the park probably come through that pathway through the neighborhood. At our first brainstorming meeting at the Post, we talked about goals, existing conditions, and then concepts. And so, you know, the overriding goal here was to honor the veterans of the township and all veterans, to create a memorable experience, to create a somewhat reverential space without it being somber. I mean, it's a park. It's going to be used as a park. I mean, most people who come to this site will not be coming necessarily to honor veterans. They're going to be using the park. But as a byproduct, we all talked about how people will find out about veterans and the important role. And we haven't decided yet how we're going to interpret that. I mean, we can have some static signs, certainly in the park, that interpret whatever story wants to be developed there. We could also have a key to a web-based application, so that display could be changed. We're doing some work in media now with a guy named Bob McMahon, who has a veterans group that's focused on education. And I've talked to him briefly, and he's a resource that we can use as we start to do that. So there's a lot of opportunity to interpret the importance of veterans to all of us. Create a place that's somewhat serene, but it's also going to have a playground, so we're going to have a lot of kids running around. So it's going to be a park and certainly a family space. You probably know the township has movie nights there and et cetera, which Tammy has said would be expected to continue. Some of the existing conditions already mentioned them. We get a lot of traffic. We have the berm. There's a fence. We have some walkways. Some folks go there and do yoga on Saturday mornings, I think. You know, right now, there's not a lot of visibility of this park from the street, which is in some ways a good thing for park use, but if we want to have a visible memorial to the veterans, it may not be a good thing. And then some of the concepts, we talked a lot about a lot of concepts. Some of them have not made it into the final concept here, but things up, you can see here, there's an obelisk that the township owns that we've yet to see, but we're told it's about 30 feet tall and about so big around, and we're looking to use that. We want to have some signage, we're going to have some lighting, we want to have some nice plant materials, obviously. It should be a place of celebration, a place of gathering, a place where small events that the township can hold can go on there. So we're trying to combine a lot of different functions in here. One of the interesting things one of the veterans came up with is a timeline through the park about some story, whether it's U.S. wars or veterans, which, again, that story still has to be developed. So a lot of neat ideas came out of those sessions. And then we developed 3 alternative, very basic concepts, and I'll try to just briefly describe them for you. The first one, this is, again, is Route 30 here, horizontally at the top of this slide, and to just open that berm up, to have a wall, a retaining wall that holds that berm from here to here, have a central plaza space. You know, we were just carrying in the pavement this V, and, you know, a central space, very sort of simple idea, and something would go on there, and you'll see some of these ideas made it through to the final. We had another concept where we took out the berm totally and flattened this area out and created a bosque of trees, of 25 trees per side, to represent the 50 states, and to create a bigger plaza area that maybe had some seating around the back where maybe events could happen with you know, flags surrounding it, and then sort of a plaza space out near the front with the obelisk, and maybe a vertical sign. We looked at, if you've seen the new King of Prussia signs that are vertical, we thought maybe something like that could work. And then the third concept was a little bit like the first one, where we had a longer wall. We brought this plaza back, elevated it, and of course the other thing we have to make sure we do is all this has to be handicap accessible, so those are ramps going up through the back. So we, and then on, I guess on, let's see, on one of these, I guess it was this one, we showed a zero-depth fountain. You know, jets that would come out of the paving, you go back into grates, and so you'd have a water feature there, so it could also be used for kids to play in on hot days. So we batted all these ideas around. The water didn't make it through because of maintenance considerations and operational costs. And we came up with a suggested final concept plan. And this married many of the elements from all three of those initial concepts. And first of all, what this shows is bringing the sidewalk across along the street. Right now, as you remember, it just goes through like this. And we thought it's important that if we're going to have visibility and invite people into the space, even though we're not going to encourage anybody to cross the road here, to bring the sidewalk along the street as it is on most of Lancaster Ave, and then have, then cut back the berm in the center area so that we open the park up to view so that it is a visible park and a visible tribute to Township veterans, and have a street side plaza, and then locate the obelisk, this 30-foot piece of marble here, right in the center, and then have these facing retaining walls that will have signage that says Veterans Park on it. And then as we come back in, you would step down a few steps into a plaza that's a little bit below the level of the street. And this is about 30 feet across, and then you'd step back up here. So create a little plaza for events, for gatherings. I would assume that on Veterans Day, this may be the place where the township holds a ceremony to honor veterans. 30-foot circle will probably, you could probably get a couple hundred people here. There's also going to be space on these berms where people could sit or stand. But we'll maintain whatever planting we can and do new planting here. Some shade trees along this side, which is a southern exposure, so that on a daily basis, when people are using the park on a hot day, we'll have shade there, so somebody could go, walk over, sit in the shade, have their lunch, whatever, hang out, or park users could use it. We've basically maintained the existing walk layout on the interior of the park, and we've tied into that. One of the ideas for the timeline is to do insets of cast stone or engraved stone through that walkway system as the timeline feature. We have slightly relocated. There's an existing 9/11 memorial in the park, which you're probably familiar with. We've just relocated that slightly from where it was. We show some benches here. Also, we've got some flagpoles that you'll see in the sketch in a minute. Also, the service, the 5 service seals, which we've suggested being incorporated into the pavement. We really want the space to have a lot of detail, have a lot of material richness, and it really needs to be put together very well to pull this off. It's somewhat of a formal space, but it's not so formal that sometimes formal design is very, very difficult to pull off, but we think this will work. If you look at a cross-section of that main space, here's, of course, Lancaster Ave, the sidewalk that would go along it and that opening plaza. You can see an elevation here of that new wall that would hold back the berm. And the obelisk would be out towards the front here, and then the American flag. And then you'd step down those couple of steps I mentioned into that 30-foot plaza area. I guess it's labeled as 20 feet, so we're somewhere between 20 and 30 unless I'm not reading it well. And then you'd step back up. And then another element that was suggested by the township manager is an eternal flame at the back. And we think that's a great idea. The challenge is to pull off an eternal flame so it's not an attractive nuisance for a 12-year-old. I know I would have burnt whatever I had when I was 12 if I could get to the flame. So, we're looking at how to do it right now. We've just suggested it would be on some type of a stone base up in the air out of harm's way. But again, there's lots of examples, and we'll explore that. And then the flags around it. So those are the basic elements, and we've not shown all the planting here, so you could see this. And then we did a couple of simple 3-dimensional models of what this might look like. And these are relatively crude, but they're accurate to scale. And you can see how the space would relate to the street. We want to make the name of the park, Veterans Park with Radnor Township beneath it, very visible to the motorists going by. The obelisk would be a very visible thing. We're assuming that both the wall and the obelisk would be lit tastefully at night. and probably the American flag, maybe the others. Again, that's a detail level we're not at yet. And you can see how the plaza relates to the rest of the park. And then also, Tammy has told us that your board's been working on looking at replacements for that playground, which you can just see in the back of the slide there. A little closer view again, and we've continued, the fence along the street, along the sidewalk, between the new sidewalk and the park. There is a, compared to what's there now, we have a wide opening from the memorial area, the plaza, to the street. We understand why the original designer put a fence there. We've certainly done enough playgrounds. We are not, since if we design this, we would have liability. We're not overly concerned not having a fence around the whole park. I think the playground's far enough away. And you're going to have a sidewalk along the street too, which is a condition along Lancaster Ave. So I just wanted to bring it to your attention. We don't have a good solution for fencing in the whole park because we think it would sort of destroy that space. But I just want to bring it up. It's probably going to be a point of discussion as we move forward. And then these are the playground concepts that Tammy had asked us to put in from a manufacturer that you're talking to presently. So this is the manufacturer, and I don't know if you've seen these before, but this was something that Tammy asked us to put in. In terms of cost, we're just saying at this point it's probably $1 million project. We haven't made material choices yet. I think we could probably make this work for significantly less than this. But at this point, until we get to that point of making material selections, et cetera, it could be as much as $1 million, but we're not sure it has to be that high. So it's really a budget figure. In the next phase, really we need to make decisions about materials, the type of materials, quality. And again, we're used to working for many municipalities where budgets are always tight. And there are many nice and creative things you can do with materials that aren't necessarily the most expensive. So, part of our job is to be creative with materials. But those costs would include all the things that you see there. And so that's sort of where we are. And, we still are having some discussions about, well, is this exactly the right place for this element or that element? But we think we're on the right path, and we seem to reach at least a general consensus with the veterans and the township staff, and also the members of the board that we've worked with so far. So with that, I'm certainly happy to try to entertain questions and your comments. And what we'd like to be able to do is we have tentatively scheduled a meeting with the Board of Commissioners on the 26th to basically give them the same presentation and then see what they would like to do.
Thank you, Peter. One thing I do want to mention, doing this, $1 million is a lot of money, but we're looking at doing it with no cost to the township. The American Legion wants to do some fundraising, and I know that Bob's talked about. He has some sources that may be able to help with the funding as well. So this is we're looking at no cost to the township to do this, and I personally think it's a nice touch for that park over there. I know a lot of people in the neighborhood use it, but it is basically lost along Lancaster Avenue. But why don't we open up for questions, comments, opinions with what you've seen?
And please, if there's something you don't like, you're not going to hurt our feelings. We're here to get your comments, and we would take them as constructive in moving into the next phase.
I mean, my one concern is the eternal flame. I agree with you. Even if it's 30 feet high, some kid will figure out how to throw a ball through there or something and set it on fire. So I don't know if that's the best bet, or from a maintenance perspective, it might be hard to maintain that. We had a hard time maintaining the fountain there, but otherwise, I don't really have any questions.
Yeah, Jim, just on that, there are lots of ways to interpret that, too. I mean, it could be a piece of sculpture that's, I mean, we've seen a lot, we did a little Googling, you know, and you can do it, too, but there are examples of eternal flames that aren't really a real flame.
Okay.
But convey that, so we can look at all those options.
Right. Right.
Sculpture could be lit in a certain way that it would look like, yeah.
I think you did an excellent job. I was a part of some of the earlier meetings up at the American Legion Post, and hearing the ideas and putting forth what you have in the conceptual. I think you really included all of them. I think you did an excellent job with it.
Thank you.
Supportive of it.
I have two questions, and these may be premature. Maybe they go more to the design stage, but do we have a sense of whether and to what extent what we're thinking of, at least conceptually now, will increase the amount of non-permeable surface there? And if it does, or even if it doesn't, is it also possible to incorporate permeable walkways, perhaps not on the sidewalk on, well, maybe even on the sidewalk on Lancaster, but just a permeability versus impermeability issue?
Yeah, I would guess we're increasing impervious coverage by, in the park, I'm going to guess about 15%. And yeah, we could have porous or permeable pavers throughout, and you know, it's an excellent selection, and I think it's a good comment, something we should think about right as we move into design development. I don't know if we'll need we may not need an MPDS permit. I don't think we'll be disturbing more than an acre, but as you know, anytime you move earth now, it's not simple. So we'll be looking to do BMPs on the site anyway, and they can be incorporated because we're going to have to mitigate any increased stormwater in the park, and we've got plenty of green area on the
Right.
inside of the park to do that.
Okay, great. Second question is, it's my understanding that there are 2 memorial trees at the park right now. I don't know, you were probably aware of that, and I was wondering what plans there might be for those. I assume we will keep them, maybe possibly relocate them, but I was wondering what your thoughts were.
Yeah, I don't know yet. I mean, certainly if we could keep them and or transplant them, we would do that. I mean, the alternative to that would be to rededicate 2 of the new trees that would go here. I mean, I just can't remember which they are, and I don't know.
I think they're small.
Yeah, I don't know. If they're movable, we'll certainly move them. But if not, I think it's, hopefully the donors would be okay with rededicating them.
Peter, on your
Thanks.
issue of the fencing from Lancaster, I don't have an issue with that because I think you do have vegetation in there. There is some fencing, and the playground's removed from that area somewhat. And face it, we don't fence all of Lancaster Avenue anyway, so I'm really don't have an issue with not having fencing along there, prevent anyone
Yeah,
from
I just
getting out
wanted to
there.
mention it because it is something we thought of, and we were comfortable with it also.
Yes.
Bob, there's no ordinance or anything that a playground has to be fenced or anything like that? Okay, so that's not an issue.
You do raise a question, I know from my other experiences too, when you mentioned, Mary, about trees dedicated. That's one of the downsides of making dedications of something such as a tree in the future, because many times you encounter that you don't anticipate something happening to that tree 5 or 6 years down the road, schools moving buildings, relocating it, and you have a tree dedicated to someone very important.
Ice storms happen too, so.
Yeah, that's true, too.
We don't know about those in Radnor Township.
Right. All right.
What's the timeline for, do we have an anticipated start date for this project?
We don't yet, and actually, Bill asked that question yesterday, and I said to him, if we were given the go-ahead tomorrow to go into design development, this could be built in 15, 18 months if you have the funding. But I think, I doubt if it would move that quickly unless somebody comes up with a couple of big checks. So I think it really is dependent on funding.
And Bob, can you give us an update on where we are on the funding for this?
Sure, there's been several residents that have inquired about this, about contributing towards this particular project. In a perfect world, it would be nice to announce this project, if the board approves of it, to move forward on Memorial Day of this year, that the project would proceed. I think that would be the target internally we'd like to go with with the funding to start moving forward. And I know with the commander at the post, I think it would be, we've spoken about that. So kind of internally, if the board approves this, that the concept and the design is good, our target internally would be is to have funding set in place and then to be able to announce the project moving forward on Memorial Day this year.
So you think you'd have the $1 million wrapped up by Memorial Day?
I would hope so. There's some individuals that have spoken that they have an interest in, whether or not personally or part of their corporation. I think with the veterans as part of this, and then too, it's also nice when they're residents too as well. And as part of this as well, is there will be some recognition for that donation. It won't overwhelm the park, but I think it would be something that to recognize those individuals or individual or company to recognize this. And I know the commander has also said that that is acceptable for them to be acknowledged as part of that.
Great. Thank you.
Bob, although we're in the conceptual development here, would you anticipate any problems with the boards here in the township, such as signage and things like that? Or do you see that as pretty, a smooth path, unlike some other activities that have happened in the township?
I wouldn't want to say 100% certainty that would be, but I think this
you don't
would be,
see any monumental, like
I don't see
Mary
anything.
mentioned stormwater management and things like
No.
that?
And I think Peter, from his side, he understands this of where we want to go. I think Paul here, the porous pavers and that is a good opportunity for us to be able to look at incorporating that, especially if we're looking to ask others and businesses to do that. We should be doing the same exact thing. I think we'll make sure we comply within the codes and the regulations, and as we go through the process, may even engage the EAC as part of this too as well, Shade Tree, to make sure we're okay with where we're going, and design review just to kick it past them too as well.
That's okay.
You have a question?
Do you have a question?
I think it's fantastic. As a bragging point, I'd like to say can I see Bill? My grandfather, James B. Riley, was also a commander at the post, and both of my uncles were members of the post. So it gives me really a nice sense of pride that I can be part of a group like this who's working with you to make this happen. So I'm sure my dad's still alive. He might even be at home watching, but my grandfather passed away. But this is something that we need to do, and it's something that it really does look fantastic.
If I may make a comment on that, pick you up on that.
You get a little closer.
Thank you. First of all, from the conceptual idea and strong feelings I had, as you all know, or many of you know, I came before your board and asked you to consider this concept. And ever since that moment, I couldn't be more satisfied or pleased with the professionalism that the board has shown through yourselves and Tammy and the township manager, Bob, and the things he has done to show his interest and support, and the fact that we met with the community, with the veterans and those who are interested, and I have talked to many, including the VFW, and Valley Forge Military Academy also has a Legion post. Those in Devon, the IAC, as you know, is large in our community as well, and Bob Philippone and those and members there, that they really feel strongly about this township and the way they've embraced this idea to memorialize and say to the veterans, thank you for your service. When we think about the uniqueness of this township in the fact that since George Washington and his troops walked down Conestoga Road in the Revolution till now, when our boys are coming home, and by the way, a number of them are joining our post from the Afghan war and the Iraq conflict, and so I feel good. I want you to feel that, as Charles said, that I hope what we're doing here is a statement of thank you for all of those that have served this community, and that's really where I'm coming from. I think it's a good idea for people to go and have that. We intend to do some fundraising. I hope I can go to the community and ask them if we're thinking of pavers, we're thinking of benches that could be dedicated. different things that we can do to aid in any way. And the most important is to do some things educationally, and they may be just a stationary, but something that can be read or changed so that the children and the parents, as they come in for the enjoyment of the playground, can also get some messaging, because I talked to a Rear Admiral just recently, and he was just amazed at how little many of the cadets in the academies even knew about their history. And so it's not only to give the message to the veterans, but to their families. And thank you very much. I can't applaud you more for what you've done for the veterans. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. And Bill, this would not have progressed without your first asking for it and then pushing for it, and all you've done as well, and what the American Legion's done over there as well. So.
Thank you. And it's been a marriage of people to get something done for the community, and that's all you can ask.
Yep.
Of each other. Thank you again. Thank you each and every one.
Thank
Susan?
you. I think I think the plan is lovely. I'm very impressed with the work that you've done. I do have one comment and a question. First, I'd echo the comment about concern about that flame. I'm a parent of 2 boys, and I just know where those kids go. And whoever said, no matter how high it is, they'll find a way, and that is so true. So I think just as a matter of just heading that off, I would love to see a different treatment than that, although I love the idea. I think it's a little too risky for it, particularly if there are alternatives. My other question has to do with access. I'm going to make a confession and tell you that I have never been to this park. I don't live in that neighborhood, and I'm a driver-buyer, as many in the township are. So I guess I would be interested in understanding how and whether or not the plan will incorporate access from a place where one can park and get in there. Because I think, truthfully, as you redo this, you will attract attention and people are going to want to go. And if you've got to get in by, it looks like on the map that you had shown before, kind of cutting between 2 private residences, I couldn't even tell you which houses those are right now. I wouldn't know where to look, and I would feel like a little oddball kind of walking up and down looking for how you get in. So I would strongly encourage the process to include appropriate signage or direction or something in terms of access, and then an appropriately laid out path. And then I guess I would direct the question to the township about parking. Are we going to create pushback from neighbors on Midland and the surrounding area? Is that likely to be an issue?
All right, let me try to address the first question. We have talked a lot about that, and one of the thoughts is in terms of handicap parking and access, we have to verify this, but we do think that the grades for Midland Avenue along this path, and if you go through there, it doesn't really feel like you're going between 2 houses. It's pretty well established and it's fenced, but we believe this route from Midland Avenue into the park is handicap accessible, meaning it's at 5% or less. Okay, so it would provide that access. When you look at Route 30, of course, it's a PennDOT road, and there are not any opportunities to park there. We are, and I didn't mention this, we are suggesting a maintenance access area here in the corner of the park where I have my pointer, so that township trucks can go in there to maintain it, because right now they sort of jump the curb. And we probably have to get an HOP from PennDOT to do that. But there's really no opportunity to create parking on the street or on the park site without really compromising the park site. One thing that Tammy is exploring and will explore is the ability to have some type of either a formal or informal agreement with the businesses on either side of the park where there are parking lots to, during off hours when the park would mostly be used in terms of comparing it with business, that people could park there and to develop a little path from that parking area into the park, which would probably be handicap accessible also. We think it's a great idea. We just didn't want let that tail wag the design here. If the township's able to accomplish that in the months and weeks ahead, great. That would go a long way to your comment.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I just think that this is an opportunity to kind of rethink that through and, and make it a park that's truly accessible for the township and not just the neighborhood, because I think right now it really functions more for the neighborhood, at least in my understanding.
Right, and just to piggyback on that for a second, because I think the concept piece of it and everything is fantastic, but now we're going to go back and talk to, the neighbors to make sure that whatever's in place there now, that it's
Sufficient.
it's sufficient, and that's all going to be addressed as we move forward.
Yeah, my guess, and again, this is based on doing this for a number of years, you're not going to increase usage of the park exponentially on a daily basis.
Oh, right.
What's going to happen is when you have an event, whether it's a movie night or whatever, you'll get more people for those events. So it's going to be won't be a daily thing. I think it will be more of an event type thing.
Well, I actually live on Midland Circle, so I'm somewhat close to that.
So you know the path.
I do. I got the secret ring. Yes, I do know the path, and I'm not overly concerned about the increase in traffic. I have talked to some of the people there, and we're just going to make sure that people coming in, that it's done correctly. That's all.
That's my question. Are there any neighbors who have come forward to say?
No, and I mean, they're probably, I'm guessing most neighbors don't even know this is going on. So I think at the next stage, it would behoove the township to probably, either send a mailer or stuff mailboxes, however go to that neighborhood along Midland and let people know this is happening. So, and I'm sure we'll have some more meetings so they can come out and just comment on everything you just talked about.
Yep.
A lot of the neighbors involved with the playground, aren't they the ones trying to get that?
Yep, Mr. Chairman, if I may. There are neighbors that are involved, and really they've done a tremendous job with the playground equipment, as well as the one meeting we had planned to be outdoors when we were going to discuss this, and we had such a lovely downpour and a rainstorm in which we were able to move into the Legion Hall for that meeting. The neighbors were invited to that, but it will be something once we have this plan now to actually reach out and engage the neighbors further in this process. Now we have something we can work with, but Bill was right, though. The neighbors have been very involved working with Tammy about the playground equipment, and they've actually come up with the designs, and they've done a tremendous job. So those are the neighbors that have helped to design that.
Any other questions? Public comment? Any more public comment? Would anyone like to make a motion that we recommend to the board take a look at this and approve and start moving?
I would love to make I'd be honored to make the motion.
Please do.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
7-0? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9-0. 9-0.
Great.
All right.
Thank you very much for your time. Also, I just mentioned that we're happy to be working with the township on the Greenway Plan, the Township Greenway Plan, and we have a very engaged and involved committee, and our next public meeting is April 14th here at the township. So if you're able to attend, we'd love to have you. We had our first meeting, we had about 40 people. We had a very, very positive meeting, and we've had 2 or 3 focus groups so far, and there's a lot of support and enthusiasm for this. So I just wanted to mention it. And thanks
Great.
again for your time tonight.
Thank you. Looks great. Thank you. Pat, are you involved in that Greenways? Is that what you were going to? Okay. Great. Okay. We'll move on. Why don't we just go back up to the top of our agenda, and we'll get into some of the reports. Thanks, Bill. No problem. Tammy's not here, but Bob, do you want to give any updates, any quick summary of a recreation report or community program department report?
Excuse me, Tammy will be submitting that report to you.
Okay.
I know that Paul has some updates on the parks through the Public Works Department. I'll let him talk
Okay.
about where we are with some of the storm damage
That would be
we've
great.
had.
Good evening, everyone. I want to talk about the trail. We had an arborist come out, walk the trail with Mark. We were out there, contractors taking down several trees right at the moment, bunch of hangers on the trail. So when these trees are removed, they're being rolled down on the banks, for habitat for the animals. The parks are all closed at the time. We just started working on the parks. We've been backed up with all this roadside cleanup. So we've fallen behind quite a bit. So we started over on Harford Park, started working in that area. We're over at the Willows right now. Willows is a big mess in that area. So we're just plugging away, trying to get everything taken care of, get it open for everyone. The trail should be open next week. And the parks, it's going to take a good week to catch up. And we'll keep you advised on when they're opening. The ball fields, continue on the ball fields. It's all weather permitting. Okay? That's where we'll leave at when you're out there.
Okay.
Choose your discretion.
So the ball fields are open if the conditions warrant?
If the conditions warrant.
Okay. So
Okay.
Little League can get out there and get
I know
going.
everybody's eager,
Yeah.
getting some nice weather. You're ready to get out there and start to play. So
Paul, what are you finding in these parks that you're going in to clean up? Is it just down trees or is it limbs?
it's a lot.
Is it
A lot of limbs. Like the Willows had 3 large trees that came down, and at least 20 large limbs. So we have to work on getting them all cleaned up, get the stumps taken out as well. Every park we've been running into, there's been a few large trees taken down, and then like the large limbs, like I'm saying, a lot of small branches. We didn't even get a chance to get out there and clean up all the leaves because of the weather.
Right.
So we're still, we have that on top of the branches. So we have our work cut out.
Great. You guys are doing a good job.
Thank you.
I know the curbside pickup was a huge help for a lot of people.
The curbside's still going on, actually. As
This weekend,
it's still
this
going
weekend
on.
You might find a lot more
just to
out
let
there.
just to let you know, I mean, I know we had ad on the website about March 16th is the deadline to have your brush put out at the curb, cut up, 3 foot lengths,
Yep.
neatly piled out there. So everybody has till the 16th to get out there. We'll be coming by next week. We'll have 3 crews running out there, running north to south. We have like the south, the middle, the north. The south side like starts at South Devon, ends up down in Hunt Road area. The middle runs from up around Doyle Road between Conestoga and Lancaster. Runs all the way down to Garrett Hill. North side does the North Woods area, North Wayne. That takes you down to the Kenilworth section in Villanova. So it'll take us a good week or so to get these piles cleaned up. Once we get through that week, I hate to say it, the residents are going to be on their own to have everything removed. So we're really going out of our way and doing everybody a big favor of letting them bring their debris out front. It's by them cutting it up, it's making it easier for us. We'd never get it done. If they pulled it out the way it is and we ran a chipper, we'd never finish. There's so much stuff out there. So by getting it cut up, it'll be a lot easier. It's like doing leaves. We're out there with a clam bucket. We have a plate on the back of a trash truck, and we load it right in the back. Logs, we're taking 14-inch logs, 2 foot long. We're loading them on a dump truck. So far, we got 37 trash truck loads of brush.
Wow.
And that's in a few weeks. So we're really doing a lot of work out there. And with 51 dump truck loads of logs. So.
Right. What's the over-under on the snow melting in Skunk Hollow, the piles? What's the date? Can we put a pool together on that one or something?
I'll tell you the end of June.
End of June, that's what I would say.
End of
Crazy.
June.
Okay, well, thank you, Paul, I appreciate that.
Okay.
So we're looking at the trail about another week, and then maybe the park's week and a half, 2 weeks?
Yes.
Okay, and then ball fields are open if conditions warrant?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, great, thank you. Other reports? Did anyone have the opportunity to go take a look at the parks that they had volunteered to take a look at? And Susan?
Closed, right?
Yeah, well, you can look from the road. You can look from the road.
The parks were closed? Yeah. No, I walked Radnor Memorial Park the other day, and, not a lot of trees down there, but there's still snow on the perimeter path, which makes it a little bit difficult. But other than that, that shouldn't be one of the worst ones. That looked, it looked pretty good. Eager to get the rest of the snow out of there, though. There's a section, I guess, that doesn't get sunlight, and
Right.
it's kind of a pain. But other than that, looked okay.
Anyone else?
I did.
Yeah.
Bo Connor, I drove in. There's a tree or it's a limb that's down, that's completely sort of on the back side of it, behind the playground, and I didn't know if that was new or not.
I'm not sure. I mean, but I'll take a look at it tomorrow.
And it's sort of in that wetlands part, behind the playground.
Okay.
on the boat
Over
corner,
back,
so that-
like, by the end of the football field back in there?
Correct.
Okay.
And I also, at Philip Home, and it seems pretty fine there, just that the sign is in terrible shape. It's
Right.
peeling, and I don't know if anyone,
I think we're looking at signs, and that's on the agenda at some point to start.
it doesn't seem like
Take a look
those
at
signs
signs.
are that old. I didn't know when we put those in, or,
I believe those signs went in sometime either late 9 or early 2010, but what we're finding there is the appearance looked as though they were wood trim. A lot of it is just, it looks like tape to make the edges there, which are not very good. They are not holding up. If they went in 9, 10 to be this date, to be that faded and falling apart. We have been looking at different materials and products to go back into it. So we will be bringing the Parks Board during that discussion some options to be able to take a look at.
and then Odoricio, that tree is still down on the hill. That's been down, though.
Yeah, we'll be getting to that soon. It's just going to take us time
I
to
know.
get around, get everything taken care of. It's been a rough winter.
Yep. I went through, Ditmar is one of mine, and the parking lot is finally melted over there, so that seems to be clearing up a little bit. And Callan looks good, and North Wayne just has some snow on it, so.
I walked through Skunk Hollow, and it was not bad considering it's woods. Willows was pretty devastated, though. Like, I had to go through the Willows to get to Skunk Hollow, but once you get into the actual wooded area, not too bad.
And I went through Clemacro, and I know there's some limbs down that I know that the township's working on. Tennell looked great, and so did Unica.
Good.
I'm still trying to get the limbs out to my front walk so you can clean it up.
Commissioners report, anything from the commissioners to report other than what we're going to talk about?
Right, everything that's in front of us is on the agenda later, so
Yep,
we
okay.
can skip us, unless,
All
Rich,
right.
do you have anything else?
That's good for the reports. All right, let's go to the commissioners. Can we get an update on the RFP process for the Willows?
What we currently are working on is a new update to the RFP. It'll be back in front of the Board of Commissioners for their review on the 24th of this month. They've asked certain items to be incorporated in here. We will do that and then have further discussions with the board. If the board is satisfied or has some changes and they're okay with that, we will get the RFP out as soon as possible.
Okay. Any questions on that? Anyone?
I'd just like to, fill you in on, I addressed the board before about, we had a broken water pipe at the Willows. I just want to give you a little update on that. We had the back storage room, we had water damage in the back storage rooms. We had the walls removed, all dried out. We had everything treated, the floor treated through the kitchen area. We had water damage through there. Just had drywall done in the storage rooms. We're going to have the kitchen floor all replaced as well. So that's where we're at right now. Just to fill you in on that.
Is insurance paying for that?
Yes.
Okay. Because, I mean, if we're going to have someone go in there, maybe we don't even want to do that.
Well, you want to get some of that stuff done. You don't want to let it go. I mean, that's stuff that should get taken care of, that water damage. You don't want it just sitting there, and then when the warmer weather starts to set in, it could create mold. So we want to avoid that.
If I may, I'd just like to add, just in case you didn't watch the commissioners' meeting, the RFP is going to request proposals not only for catering event space users, but also for potential residential or B&B use. And it'll be clear that hopefully that any residential use would just be the building. It wouldn't include development of any of the land. So that came out in our discussion and will be in the RFP.
When you say residential use, you mean like Luella Court types?
Yes.
Something like that?
Right,
Okay.
exactly. So, if we get proposals back, it may include other uses than just what we saw last time.
Elaine, I didn't watch the meeting, but was there any conversation of the Board of Commissioners about the possibility or the option of tearing the building down?
From our manager. Yeah, I mean, it was put out there by Bob, and I think there is not a majority of the Board of Commissioners who is willing to do that, to consider that at this point.
I think you mentioned before, and it's interesting that the original intent way back when that property was acquired by the township was that something would happen to the mansion in the form of not the township holding on to it, but to selling it off at that
Right.
point. That was the original intent. Why it never came through to fruition, who knows? But it sounds like it's coming back now, that it may be a possibility, which,
Right.
It's a good
I mean,
point.
it'll be interesting to see
Yes.
who we get proposals from.
Mhm.
But both of those offers were schools back in the 70s. And one was the Hilltop and one was, I've forgotten, one of the religious schools. Oh, no, it wasn't a school, it was Church of the Savior. Church of the Savior and Hilltop School.
and the idea was to maintain the building, not tear it down and rebuild on that footprint. And that's what the intent is right now, to maintain the footprint without tearing it down, correct?
Right.
But we would sell off the building, like if we wanted to do something like Luella Court or whatever, we'd have to sell it, right?
Yeah, I mean, that would be something we would explore. Yeah, it would be hard for someone to sell residential real estate if they didn't own it.
Right.
But other uses could be long-term leases, if it was a school or if it was a B&B, or, you could do a long-term lease. If you're going to condo it, no, but.
Okay.
So that's a discussion we'll have, depending on what comes before us, whether we want to actually sell it or just long-term lease it.
Okay. Any other questions on that? Public participation? Sarah?
As you know, my grandfather was the architect for this property, and it was never more than a house. An idea that actually Bob thought of it, but I've been thinking of it, is replacing the building with a really nice covered pavilion that had water and electricity. It could have canvas or plastic sides for a big event. It could be used for theater, could be used for concerts, could be used for picnics. It would have the view shed, and I think it could be a very creative replacement for the building, and it's something I would like the township and the Board of Commissioners to consider. I think we need permanent bathrooms. There could be some sort of structure there that included bathrooms for the people who use the park. And I think it's time to think outside the box on this. I would love to see some creative architects come in on a volunteer basis and look at what could be done about it, because it's the view shed that's important, really not the building. And I think Bob had a really good idea. I think it has a lot more use than a building going to somebody else for their use and us using it maybe 12 times a year. This could be something that, hey, got a nice Saturday night, it's been hot, there's a breeze up there, you take your picnic supper, and you go and have supper in the pavilion, and you get to watch the sunset go down. I think it's a terrific replacement for the house. Thank you.
Thank you. Sure.
Love that idea.
Yeah, so do I. I think that's a great idea. I really do, because then you can just use it.
It could be rented for weddings.
Right, yeah.
I think it's a great replacement.
Okay. Any other comments on that? All right. Last thing on the list, I think, Elaine, you wanted to talk about is really the Ardrossan Trail.
Well, we briefly updated this at the last meeting, so I'm not sure how much more there is to say, but, and I think at the last meeting, didn't you all see a copy of this map?
Yeah,
Or
we have it. We have it again.
Okay. So where we are right now is that there's a group of residents from three people from the Parks Board. I think it's Mary, Pat, and Luke. Some people from the Open Space Plan, from Friends of Radnor Trails, some commissioners, and we're working with Natural Lands Trust to do they are going to do a more precise and professional trail plan. They're starting work in June 1st, and it's completely funded by a grant that they've received. They got a $7,500 grant from a benefactor to go towards this, and so that's what's funding this. We're not paying any money for it. And they've just this week given us the scope of work, so I'll briefly go through the highlights of it so you know what it will entail. They're going to review the existing information, all the maps and photographs that have been presented already. They're going to prepare baseline mapping. They're going to conduct site visits, which will probably be in conjunction with our resident group. And then they're going to prepare recommendations on the corridor alignment, the trail surface materials, the stormwater control measures, the stream crossings, the fencing around it, the use and compatibility for cross-country running to use for the high school and the schools around, the coexistence and relationship with the Boy Scout house and their use, the connection to the trails around it, and the costs. And then finally, they're going to help us put together a list of potential funding sources, grants that we can get. Now, we can't apply for any grants until we actually own the land, which is, at the very soonest will be the first half of 2015, but maybe after that even. So the grants are really, it's more just educating ourselves right now about what monies will be out there in 2015 and kind of putting ourselves in a good position to try and get that money, state money, federal money, private money, as soon as we own the land. So that's pretty much where we are with that. We have the luxury of time and planning for this because we won't own it for quite a while. So that's the update.
This map,
Yes.
if you did a whole loop on there, what's the distance?
Yeah, I don't
Any
know.
idea?
I don't know the answer to that. I don't know. You could probably figure it out with one of those engineer
An inch is
rulers.
600 feet. So, okay. Any questions?
I just have a question about the pedestrian crossing and the signal.
Yeah.
What is that going to look like? I mean, is that
The only safe place, we looked at this a while ago, years ago actually, and the only safe pedestrian crossing is at the top of the hill, like at that crazy intersection
Yeah.
where they have it here. So I mean, that's one of the things they'll do a recommendation on, but what I've heard them talk about is kind of a, raised with, like they do in the and Bryn Mawr and whatnot, where you kind of call attention to a pedestrian.
Kind of like when somebody goes to cross, they hit a button and, like at the hospital, Bryn Mawr Hospital?
Yeah,
similar to
something
that?
along those lines.
Okay.
And who knows? I mean, with the development going in Ardrossan, and
Might be a light.
that may be improved anyway. That little,
Yeah, there's a lot of traffic there.
Intersection.
And maybe that would be an opportunity. And I'm not pushing for traffic lights, but
well, I don't know about traffic lights, but at least a stop sign going the one way where there's not one now.
okay. Thank you.
Any other questions or? Okay.
Thank you. Any public comment? All right. Final reports, EAC, Luke, anything from you?
Not much, really. Sloan Walker, as I mentioned before, brought up that issue with Fenimore Woods and some cleanup needed in the pond and some and needing to fix up the bridges to a certain extent. Him and I are trying to get out there to look at it and then see what we can do within the realm of regular maintenance. Fenimore Woods has no money allotted to it right now, so we're going to try to figure out a way to get it done based on what we see, but we're trying to get out and check it out. So that's where we are.
Great. Shade Tree is me, no report on that. School Board? First of all, I'd like to welcome Chuck back. Thank you for coming back to us. We missed you.
Yes, we did.
We're happy to have you. Susan?
Yeah, the school board met at the end of February, and as meetings go, it was relatively uneventful. I think the only thing that's worth pointing out is that there is movement underway to open a summer school program beginning this summer at Radnor High School. It would be to help students accelerate, enrich, remediate, and obtain credit recovery. It would be a tuition-based program, and it hasn't been approved yet. It's got to go back to committees to review for financial stuff and so on. But you know, I think it's likely to go ahead. And there will be also similarly a theater program to provide a variety of experiences for students to help build their confidence in public speaking and so on. So look for more on both of those things. And Chuck, I'll turn it over to you for your...
Well, we were brainstorming over here about bringing the school curriculum in place with the Veterans Park, and we were saying we could line some of that up with our social studies and our history, and the kids at the middle school could walk right down Midland Avenue and go in and see the park, and we could have guest speakers. We could have Bill Madden speak.
Yeah.
We could have other people, and you know, pool the community together, school system and the parks system also.
Maybe,
Also-
maybe the school board wants to make a contribution as well.
Yeah,
we'd have to discuss that.
We have a lot of brain power,
There you
but
go.
that's about it.
We'll make contributions in kind.
There you go.
Yeah, that would be about it. I'd also like to step out of my role as a school board guy and welcome the Allisons here. They probably arrived a little bit late. Unfortunately, the meeting started at 5. I know you usually it starts at 6:30, but we started at 5:30. They're neighbors to the Veterans Park. We had a discussion about Veterans Park, and as it moves forward, there will be discussions with the neighbors about how we can make sure that the landscaping and the shading and everything else is properly done and done to the satisfaction of the neighbors who are immediately involved with that, besides just the community. So, because I imagine you thought the meeting started at 6:30?
Now, you can go out to dinner now.
Yeah. But not by me. Okay. Phew. I don't know.
I'm sorry for the confusion.
Well, I think you would have been pleased with it if you want to.
Do you have specific public, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, do you have specific comments or questions? Could we invite them
Yeah, if you want to
do
come up to
that?
the mic, if you have any specific questions, and then I have
Or
some drawings
concerns?
we can show you.
was a very positive meeting.
Thank you,
So far.
everybody. That's encouraging. I'm Sally Allison. My husband Joel is sitting in the back, and we are the people who approved the easement from Midland Avenue to the park. And we've had a lot of problems with the landscaping, which has given us no privacy for all the people walking from Midland to the park. And one thing we were promised when we agreed to the easement was that it would be landscaped to the point where we would have privacy and it would, look nice and whatnot. And we said, fine, we thought we were doing the right thing. But it just didn't work out. The plantings that were put in were not properly selected and properly planted, it appears. And we just have a mess on our hands. And we've been coming back and forth to the township asking for help with this because it's really beyond our means and our physical ability to deal with it. And haven't gotten very far. If you walk down the path, you'll see how far we've gotten. So we are hopeful that something can be done this spring to make the path more attractive for people walking down it, because now it's just a pile of weeds and vines.
Thank you very much for your comments. I appreciate it. And that's something that we'll have to take a look into, and maybe that's something that we can address as well as the park moves forward.
Maybe you should be aware that, Mr. Simone, they just have a concept right now, and they have assured us via the township that you will be contacted, all the neighbors, to come in and see that and to weigh in with your inputs there. It's not like something is moving that we don't encourage your input, and I think we have approved it moving on to the commissioners, but that doesn't mean it's a fait accompli. The next step will be gathering more input from the community and the near neighbors, so there will be that opportunity.
And the same presentation we saw today is going to be made at the Board of Commissioners meeting on the 26th of, 24th, I'm sorry, 24th.
24th of March.
Well, thanks for going through this with us, and we're obviously very supportive of the park as we were, from the beginning. And, so we obviously are very interested in following development, and it'll be great to contact people on Midland, because obviously it's still going to be the main access for anyone parking and going through to use the park. So thanks for taking time and reviewing what went on at the other meeting.
No problem.
Are there any meetings scheduled with the neighbors? Or where the neighbors
Nothing's been scheduled yet. The next step is for the Board of Commissioners to take a look at the concept plan and determine whether they approve it, agree with it, and if they do agree with it, then it moves forward, and then there are meetings with the neighbors, meetings with the township to try and come up with materials and funding and everything else. Sarah?
Answer, Mr. Madden. Gene Huff established Saving Hallowed Ground to bring history, and he actually approached the school district and got nowhere. So he's worked with St. Catherine of Siena. He's now working with a school in Northern Liberties. His program's really taking it off, so it's all there. The curriculum's written. He and I are going to be meeting tomorrow because somebody wants to give him another $10,000 to continue the work down in Northern Liberties. So it's all there. It's the school district that now needs to come into it in order to make it happen. But the resources are here in Radnor Township.
Yeah. And to my disappointment, the school district didn't pick this up, dropped it. They've been asked several times. I'm on the curriculum committee, and I will push it forward again and really push hard to get this to happen. I know they spent a lot of time. I visited the presentation at St. Catherine's. I was there. It was fantastic.
Extraordinary.
It's research-based about our own people here, what they did.
Mm-hmm.
And I apologize it didn't go through, but we'll try it again, and with some support, more support, and with the support of this board and Veterans Park and Bill, we'll get it done.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure you knew about Gene as the resource.
Okay, thank you.
If there's no other comment, I think we're done.
Make a motion
All
that
right.
we adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
So moved.